As you know, the UN Climate Talk Fest, the one that used to be in Glasgow a couple of years ago, well, that, of course, is now taking its place in the absolute heart of conservative attitudes, modern attitudes. That, of course, is the UAE. Now, Chris Bowen is there representing Australia, and I can't help but think that this Prime Minister is being treated slightly different than the previous Prime Minister. You see, this is the second time in a row that the Australian Prime Minister has not attended this international UN Talk Fest. But remember what the current Prime Minister said about the former Prime Minister, who was planning to do exactly the same thing about a UN climate conference. Of course, it was Albo criticising ScoMo for maybe not going to an event that he himself has not gone to for the past 2 years.
The Prime Minister should attend the Glasgow conference and he should represent Australia. If he doesn't, it's because he's embarrassed about Australia's position.
But of course he doesn't have to go. You can send Bowen or you can send Wong because it's not really that important. But of course Australia is currently bidding for the opportunity, just like the Olympics or a Commonwealth Games that we might get but then give up on, to have one of these international climate conferences here. Now, presumably Albo will go to that. Now, I understand it's a vexed issue for the Prime Minister. You see, if he went to this conference, I and plenty of other people would, of course, be calling him Airbus Albo. But the reality is that he's kind of screwed either way. You see, if he went, he would be further adding to the problem that is Toto 1 and Airbus Albo. But if he doesn't go, then he kind of looks like a hypocrite. So you choose which one you think he is, because either reflect poorly on the Prime Minister. Meantime, of course, as you know, this government's very aggressive when it comes to an anti-nuclear stance, suggesting nuclear power never allowed in the country. But amazingly, a teenager was able to get an answer out of the French president about whether or not Australia should be lifting its nuclear ban. Now, remember when people were getting awards for, like, Scoop of the Year? Because they were able to ask the French president a question? Well, clearly it's not that hard. A teenager was able to do it.
I hope that you will manage to lift the ban. I mean, nuclear energy is absolutely a necessity to succeed.
Yes.
For carbon neutrality in 2050.
Right, certainly.
So, I mean, now it's with the control of international atomic agency and with the best possible regulation. I think this is a fair and a good decision to relaunch nuclear capacities.
So nuclear energy might be a way of reducing greenhouse gases. What was the name of Al Gore's film? Oh, that's right. An Inconvenient Truth, perhaps. Meantime, this government, of course, is obsessed with trying to build an entirely new electricity grid to replace the one that works, because it will make them look better when they host the international conference of the leaders who may or may not turn up, because like our Prime Minister, it's kind of optional. Well, under the Daily Mail, because they turned around and actually had a look and put together a graph about the types of destruction to the planet, to the Earth, that's being done by the creation of all of these new renewable projects everywhere. Now, I know you won't be able to squint and follow everything there, but the destruction of 1.5 hectares of koala habitat is happening right now at a place called Clark Creek in Queensland. Meantime, the wedge-tailed eagle, what is that, 2, 4, 6 of them have been killed by a wind project in New South Wales. And then as we start to move down towards, a little further down, well, there's been plenty of falcons and bats and crest tails that have also died as a result of the endless push towards, you know, the better stuff. And finally on this one, interesting to note that there's a little bit of pressure on the government to increase the carbon price. You mean we have a carbon price in Australia? Oh, that's right, we actually do. Now, we told you this at the time, Matt Canavan made it clear at the time, and now there's suggestions that this price must be increased in order for Australia to hit its green dreams. Except, again, a little bit like Albo in the optional attendance of the climate conferences, what did Casanova say in 2021? No, an economy-wide carbon price isn't part of our policy development. But then there is a carbon price that apparently we need to increase to be able to meet our global targets for a meeting about whether or not our Prime Minister will or won't attend. These people play us for fools, but we're not. We stand up, we call them out, and we gladly will.